The biggest thing that helps you is knowing the marketing, knowing the PPC, knowing where the gaps in the market are. So I just did like what Travis and everyone else said, using different numbers and different criteria to narrow down competition, niches you're interested in. I mean, if you make a mistake, at least you walk away with something you learn from. I mean, within the first couple days, I think the first week I sold out.
Just to start us off, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background, how you got into selling in the first place, and what brought you, what got you into that?
I think it originally started, well, my background is, I'm originally from Guyana, South America. I don't know if you know where that is.
Yeah.
So it's quite far away.
Yeah.
And I originally moved to the States to do a degree in civil engineering.
Nice.
And at the same time, since I was a small kid, I was a professional race car driver.
Wow.
So I did that for 3 to 4 years professionally, racing a lot of different cars, mainly Formula open-seater cars like the F1 you see today. At the same time, I did my civil engineering degree, and then I worked for a couple of years in the industry. And then I also took my master's with an MBA. That kind of opened up my world to business.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was also big on passive income, figuring out side hustles. I've always been the person to go get it. I never wait for stuff to be given to me. I mean, it's always hustle. So I just looked at different methods, and I think the method that stood out the most to me was e-commerce and selling online. I originally started with drop shipping. That didn't go that well. And then I ended up stumbling on Travis's program and seeing a lot of other videos. And then I tried to kind of reverse engineer, because the thing with drop shipping was trying to get the customers to that site.
Mm-hmm.
And with Amazon, they already have the customer base, and you're just building a brand using them. And then I kind of thought, like, maybe reverse engineer, use where everyone's already buying, and then eventually, hopefully, you build a brand and get them off onto your own website.
Yeah, it's definitely a different way of thinking about it versus, like, I feel like the drop shipping is the first thing a lot of people see. And then over time, they might stumble onto, I mean, what you did, figure out how to build an actual brand and put yourself in front where the customer's already shopping. Around what year was that where you started like actually getting serious about getting involved with it?
I mean, everyone says they want to do something, but no one actually does it, because it's a fear of not knowing what you're getting into. I mean, you could lose a lot of money and lose a lot of stuff. In 2019 was when I originally started drop shipping.
Okay.
I was in my final year of university. I was about to graduate, and I mean, I didn't have much time, and I just put together a drop shipping store. I think I did it. I studied for like 3 months on product research and what to sell. And I think as soon as I released it, I had a problem with my link, one of my shipping links. I think 16 people put it in the cart and tried to purchase it, but then there was links, so I shut that down almost instantly. Mm-hmm. But that was when it kind of opened my eyes to it, and I was like, oh wait, it's possibly something, because the craziness, and I almost had 16 sales on my first day. And if it wasn't for me messing up a coding, it would have been the start of something big. So it was when COVID hit, and that's when I had a lot of free time. When I looked into other methods, such as Amazon and everything else.
Sure. Yeah. So you kind of spoke about it a little bit with drop shipping, but as you started to look at Amazon, I'm curious about that product ideation phase. About it sounds like before you did research with drop shipping, but when it came to Amazon, what was that process like for you to figure out what you're going to sell? And how did you eventually arrive on what you did arrive on?
I mean, I think it comes down to a lot of numbers. I mean, I'm an engineer. Knowing numbers, looking at where there's a lot of demand and not a lot of competition.
Sure.
That was basically my main criteria. Also looking where you had a lot of margin for profit, because if you have no margin, it doesn't make much sense selling. Right. So I just did like what Travis and everyone else said, using different numbers and different criteria to narrow down competition, niches you're interested in. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that sells well.
Yeah.
But it comes down to, what do you want to build a brand for? Because if you're not having fun doing what you want to do,
right,
that doesn't really make much sense. I kind of chose, narrowed it down to like the home improvement industry. Okay. And that's kind of like what I decided to sell, because it had the numbers. I had a passion for improving stuff from my engineering background. Mm-hmm. Then I kind of just used my engineering degree and went in there, and I took a gamble on those products.
Totally. And you want to go over like what your exact product is that you sell?
Yeah, sure. No problem. So right now, what I had originally started on was actually have 5 products already now.
Nice.
And I'm actually launching a patented product soon. So I'm probably going to scale that all the way off. But right now, the first product, if we're going off of the first product I launched, it was a Ziploc bag organizer.
Nice.
So that was originally what I landed on.
Cool. And so when you came with that product, obviously, I guess the ideation process was, I mean, there's organizers out there, but what did you think about ways to do this differently? And then the design process, was there much of like an iteration phase of that, or how exactly did that go down?
Yeah, I would say my research took about 3 months. I think I saw it was selling well. I think there was one seller that was doing almost close to 500,000 per month or so. It was pretty ridiculous numbers, or overall that's what they had done. And there was not a lot of competition. I mean, I try to stay away from places where there's a monopoly of the market, where there's one or two sellers kind of dominating it, because it's just very hard to get in that area because they're gonna just shut you down pretty fast.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did see in that industry, while there was one person dominated, a lot of the other people were getting a share slice of the pie, I would say. So that's what I looked at. And then also I looked at their listings and be like, yeah, I could do a lot better than that. I mean, you got to look at areas where you can do a lot better. So that's kind of how I went into that. And that's kind of like what I ended up doing.
Totally. So you got the idea moving forward. Was it pretty easier to find a manufacturer for it to make that happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then for the idea itself, so a lot of for the actual product, there was only one variation. It was the natural bamboo color variation.
Yeah.
So what I looked into was releasing a different color, because I do know a lot of people's houses or kitchens, particularly, are black, they're white, they're someone, and they did have other sellers that sell it. But what I did was kind of combine the two, just not aesthetically, because people like the bamboo look, because it gives it like kind of like a rich background, like a rich kind of product that is like, oh, it's very premium. It's a wood product. It's very aesthetically pleasing. So what I did was I painted the outside of it to white or black to match kitchen, but I left inside natural. So it kind of gave the best of both worlds. And at the time, no one was selling. And the thing is, when I launched, the number one seller within, I would say, a month, literally launched the same thing afterwards, because he realized the sales. Because I first found a gap in the market. That's how I was going to get my sales. And then I was going to try to steal his share after. So that's how I differentiated myself right away.
Cool.
Within the first couple days, I think the first week I sold out.
Wow. So that really proved itself quick. Jumping back a second there. So it sounds like you did a whole lot of research, looked at the numbers, and it seems like you're a pretty motivated guy. What was making that call to make the jump into like launching? Was that a tough decision for you to make, or once you'd done the research, you were ready to do it?
I mean, it's always a risk. You never know what's going to happen on the other end. So I did have a little feeling like, oh, because everyone says it's like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. You have a high chance of failing. So a lot of people, especially like my parents and so on, don't kind of know the industry, and they're like, oh, you're just throwing all your money online. You don't know what you're doing. You lose it. So at the time, I was just like, because I have listened to other people in the past, and I mean, become opportunities of what if I did that?
Right.
And then instead, I'd rather just do it. And I mean, if you make a mistake, at least you walk away with something you learn from. You learn from it, and you take away advice, and you build on that. But it's a lot worse when you don't take that risk and you're what if all the time. So I just
like that initial investment, like around how much was it that you were putting down to commit to get this product off the ground and started?
Out the door, for the landing cost of the product, it was about 5,250. So totally all wrong with everything included was 6,000, around 6,000 something, to get it started. So at the time, I mean, I get pretty well. I still have a day job. I'm a civil engineer. So I was like, yeah, I'm willing to lose a month's worth of pay or so. See what I can make happen with it.
Big, but it sounds like that paid off pretty quickly. First month you said sold out on Amazon, so that's great. What do you think the biggest things you attribute that success to is? Is that just choosing a good product? I know you made some pretty big design changes or choices there. What do you think was the big thing, the catalyst that made that happen?
I think the biggest thing, besides just choosing the right product, obviously you need to have customers looking up the product to sell it. I mean, it's a lot harder trying to sell a product that doesn't sell. So obviously that helps, but I think the biggest thing that helps you is knowing the marketing, knowing the PPC, knowing where the gaps in the market are, and where you can kind of market your product to differentiate yourself from others. That's probably what made the biggest difference compared to everyone else.
Sure. And you mentioned earlier that so this product eventually just became one of you launched 4 more products after this. Is that right?
Yeah, I launched at least 3 or 4 more right after.
And so what led to these other products that you launched? Did you launch this one and realize other things, other opportunities, whether how you can improve on it, or what started to drive desire to launch more products?
Well, I mean, I've always believed in never putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
You never know. At the end of the day, when you find a good product, at the end, it's not your product. I mean, a lot of other people could launch that same product. So looking at it, you have a lifespan of probably 3 to 5 years with a product, a good product or so. It could be short, it could be longer, depending on how fast it gets saturated. And as well, at the end, you have to look at it. You're trying to build a brand, a reputation.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't really build. You can try to build a brand off of one product, but if you want to be in the industry and the product, you kind of want to launch more products to kind of establish yourself. Like, hey, we're here. We're not just selling one product. Whatever your needs are, we're here to supply for that.
Totally, totally. And so, when launching your next products, did you look to launch it adjacently, or just launch where you saw opportunity?
So they're all kind of in the same niche and industry.
Okay.
So it was just adjacent with it, and everything was kind of cohesive, kind of together.
Yeah.
Just looking at different stuff. I kind of use the same parameters and
Yeah.
kind of look for the same kind of stuff that was made the first product successful.
Yeah.
I look for products where I can make improvements and launch a better product, and that's what I did, and they've all worked out so far.
And so, what were those other products that you ended up launching?
I think it's a step stool is one of the ones I've done.
Okay.
Baby step stool, and then I also launched like a wipes dispenser, and then I was also gonna launch like this rack holder that I didn't do in the end, and then the last product that I'm now launching is a patented product that I haven't released yet. So
Nice. And of those, I know one you said you haven't released yet, but of the ones that you have released, which one is there one that's like really killing it, that's performing the best?
Well, obviously the first one I launched is killing it.
It took the most time to mature on Amazon and
exactly. So if you know, I'm pretty sure you know it, the Amazon, how it works. You kind of have to put in startup money to kind of get that traffic, because it's not only PPC sales you're going after. You're going after organic sales, ranking, and everything. So I think once you're doing it right and you have more time to get it going, but in comparison, all the other products are performing just as well as the first one, even better, because I learned from my first experiences. So I would say they're all pretty good. But if I would say which one's performing the best, it'd have to be the first one, because it had the most time on Amazon so far.
Nice. That's good to hear. So I know you talked about choosing your product. Obviously, that's very important. Is there anything other than that across your time selling that you feel like has really impacted your success? Some sort of thing you've learned to do with Amazon, or resource, or is there anything that's really been a catalyst for the success?
I think it's mainly it's Amazon PPC. Understanding every single different way you can market on keywords, competitors, how to get your different areas to show product, doing product videos. And also at that point, at first I started out making content myself, and then I hired a content creating team to do that for me.
Nice.
So it's kind of like just evolving everything you do. And I do know the two biggest things that stood out to me is just advertising, and then also getting premium content that makes your listing stand out more than everyone else.
On that note of PPC and advertising, is that something that you had to invest a lot of time to learn and get the hang of?
Yeah, I think that took the most time. I remember at work, that was kind of like stock investments or day trading for me.
Sure.
I was looking at the sales, looking at the numbers, what prices set the bids at. I think every day I adjusted it. It would take at least 3 hours to 4 hours a day to adjust all the different bids I had. I think at one time I had probably 15 to 20 campaigns run at one time. So every day I would go in and manually adjust every single one, because also you're on a budget to make it. You want to scale while at the same time you have to make it reasonable, where you can't just throw $2,000, $3,000 out the window.
Right. You still want that to be a profitable investment and not just operating the loss. So yeah, that's cool to hear. And yeah, I think that's a big thing that's can be beneficial for all sorts of sellers. Overall, your time on Amazon. So you've launched on Amazon. Was it 2021 that you launched, or what year?
No, so 2019. I actually launched fully operational last year.
Last year, okay. And so across that time of selling for, 2023 to now, so maybe about a year was about. Is that right?
Yeah, about a year. But one of my biggest issues that I encountered, I don't know if you see it under the mistakes, is that I didn't order enough inventory. Like I said, within the first month, I ran out of inventory, or for a week I was out. I had to take down my PPC after a week.
Yeah. Definitely a good problem to have, in the sense that people are buying your product, but it still definitely sucks. Amazon, I know how bad they penalize you when they run out of inventory like that. So overall in that time, obviously had some problems with inventory management and things like that, but overall, how do you know how much you've done in sales on Amazon?
I can pull it up right now. Since I started, 214K.
214K in less than a year selling on Amazon.
In less than a year, with being out of inventory 3 times in a row.
Inventory, right? Yeah, that's
so
very
actually cool. Operating time has been probably about 6 months.
Wow, 6 months. Wow. So I can only imagine the numbers that you'll probably do once you sort out the inventory and supply it at a good rate for it to match with all the sales coming in. I know you mentioned that as one of the big mistakes you made was inventory management. Other mistakes, is there anything else you feel like was a mistake along the way that you do differently if you had to do it again?
I think quality control, that was a mistake, because I do think if you source products in Alibaba and other places, it's trying to find an agency to kind of do quality control, quality checks on everything you order. It's okay checking the sample quality, but when you do a
Yeah,
large order quantity, I mean, a lot of them could be pretty much damaged and
yeah.
figuring out shipping costs.
Was
So
there
that, go
was there
ahead.
a specific incident that occurred with involving the quality of one of your products?
Not one. I mean, there's a whole
It's
batch
just
of products. Was
wow.
just a lot of it was off. It was not compared to what the one of my first orders was.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was my first order of 250 units. It was all pretty in the end. It was great,
Wow.
no issues. And then once we started scaling, that was where we saw a lot of the quality drop for them to be able to produce more numbers.
Yeah.
So then I didn't have any way to check that. They would say, yes, it's great. They'd take pictures of good ones, but then the reviews
Right.
from Amazon, and if you know, which you do, is Amazon reviews is currency. So getting bad reviews really hurts you. So just trying
Totally.
to limit the number of that to try to keep it on the lower end. I mean, I'm still working on that. So, I mean, I need to figure out how to do quality
Yeah.
control. That's another big regret, other than not having inventory.
Of
And
course.
then also the next big one that stood out to me is scalability with this company. I don't think I did enough research into finding what was the maximum quantity they could do because everyone asked for the MOQ.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
scaling wise is what happens 2 or 3 months down the line if you're selling out a lot. So I
Yeah.
think when I got up to about 800 units when I was trying to order, they just couldn't fulfill it. So the
Wow.
quality went really bad, and then they couldn't fulfill within the 2 months. So it was 3 to 4 months.
That's very something interesting to hear. From someone from your perspective, because I feel like that is a lot of people starting out. They're just asking for the MOQ like that, and not even thinking about it. Because most people are just trying to like, oh, they want to be successful, they want to sell through that first batch, but not thinking long term. So that's very interesting to see. So those issues specifically, first off, the quality itself, and then also with your manufacturer not being able to fulfill the large quantities you need. How'd you go about addressing and dealing with both those?
Well, I mean, I had to talk to them, and I also started outsourcing again.
Outsourcing?
So I also brought in people to help me. I
Yeah.
also to hire quality control. I reached out to an agency.
Okay.
I think I found it through Travis's links. I think he does provide a bunch of links, and
Yeah.
quality controls. And so then I went from there, and then I started reaching out to different people to give me quotations based on I guess on how much you sell and that kind of stuff, what their fee is.
Right.
And then also for the amount, I also looked into other manufacturers. So originally, when I ordered my samples, I had ordered from three different manufacturers.
Yeah.
In the end, one was better, but the second person who supplied the sample was almost just as good.
Okay.
It was just the communication with the first one was a little better. So I was like, wait, maybe why don't I backtrack a little bit and see if this other person could also fulfill? So
Yeah.
so one of the orders, I did a split order where one manufacturer did a set of it, and then the other one did quite a bit. And I kind of compared what they kind of produced, the time they did, and then
And they
that's
were able to create a product that was like close enough to what you're selling. That's
it's identical. You can't.
identical. Okay.
So
Got it.
I'm pretty good with the details and stuff. So I made sure it was very identical. I was pretty strict with everything, all the
Yeah.
dimensions and everything.
Do you,
So go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. You can go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's pretty identical, and that's kind of how I kind of went through that phase where the one manufacturer couldn't supply for me for like 4 or 5 months.
Gotcha.
I literally got another manufacturer to step in and help me through that phase.
You mentioned that you came into this with like an engineering background. Do you feel like that's helped you like throughout this with iterating with these products? I mean, you mentioned it kind of helped you like think with numbers when validating, but do you feel like it helped the product creation side of things?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's about finding a gap in the market and how you could offer a better product to your customers. So I think that engineering background kind of helps me not only think of these ideas, but also make sure they're actually possible and what the cost would be, how hard it would be. So then when these factors come at you, like, no, you can't possibly do that. How do you go about doing it? You
Right.
could be, this is exactly how you do it. This is where you do it. And because I mean, I've done it on all the other products where I kind of modified them a bit using my engineering background and using the same engineering software I used before.
Oh,
I
sweet.
can actually draw them and put them up together.
Yeah.
So when you ask questions like, here's the actual file. This is exactly what I need you to do.
Totally. And for these products that you're designing, have you have you gotten a trademark for the brand, but also have you tried to patent anything and protect it at all?
Yeah, so I have 2 trademarks right now.
Okay.
One for the current company and brand I'm operating under. I have an LC as well to protect myself from any liabilities and anything like that. And then I also have a second trademark for the new product I'm launching, which is kind of separate. That one wouldn't be cohesive with the other brand.
Yeah.
And then also for the new product, since it's a brand new idea, it doesn't exist yet, I did file patent pending on it.
Patent pending. Okay, nice. And for filing all that stuff, did you do that yourself? Did you consult with a lawyer, or how'd you go about doing that?
So a lot of them, there's a lot of services online
Yeah.
that you could reach out to, like LegalZoom.
Yeah, sure.
That's something Travis talked about as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To,
So
to use their services.
service and did it all through there.
Yeah, so I've used them before long ago when I had first done dropshipping. So I did reach out to them to do another trademark for me. And then it's just reaching out. I do know on Amazon list, they do offer trademarks. That's a later program. So just going through their list, seeing who offers the best deals and doing some trademarks and copyrights through them. Because sometimes I've had a situation with LegalZoom where they couldn't file it for me because they said it was infringing on one of their, another patent they found on someone else.
Did you do the patent the same way through them as well, or was that another service?
The patent I went through Amazon. I found one of them that did one of my trademarks, and then I reached out to them. Do you guys also do patents and copyrights? And then they say yes, and then I reached out to the law firm. The thing is, besides just using Google, Amazon does offer a lot of the partners they use themselves and how to accelerate it. So I just look on there.
Totally. So it sounds like I mean, it sounds like you've done a whole lot in a very short period of time with about 6 months of runtime. Already up to almost 5 products. I think will be 5 products soon. So I'm curious, what's next for you? It sounds like figuring out some of these things and do better, like inventory management and quality control and planning for growth. I'm sure those are great. Launching more products, or what's your next chapter with Amazon look like?
I think it's just optimization now. I mean, it's good and well. I figured out the launching phase and everything, but now it's how do I keep my costs down? How do I be better with shipping? Do I get one shipping partner so I could have a fixed cost or a set cost or someone I could always talk to and trust? I did try a shipping agency for a month or two. I didn't really get along with them well because there's a lot of hidden fees they charge afterwards. So it's kind of like just kind of optimizing everything and making it very repetitive in a way that you're my go-to person. I could easily come to you. I know you're not going to tell me any crap. And we go from there. So besides just also looking at that, Amazon, I did go to Amazon's conference, and I do know they're offering like supply chain by demand and a lot of fulfillment services where they do everything from China themselves. Personally, I'm not going to do that right now for many different reasons. Heard from a lot of people, but it's just kind of trying to create that background where maybe I might start storing units at Amazon themselves.
Okay.
And as we talk right now, because I do know Amazon starts warehouses as well now.
Yeah.
We'll send directly to it, and also taking advantage of their services because I'm also expanding off of Amazon for my new product. So I plan to launch a website. I'm going to launch on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Sweet. So hiring agencies to help me with that also. So I mean, there's a lot of moving parts going on with me right now. That's why I'm quite busy.
Yeah.
And as we're speaking right now, I think I just gave my 2 weeks notice at my work to do this full time because it's
about to go full time. That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm about to go full time, and then I'm about to set up. I'm looking into probably, from what I've heard, is try to rent or purchase my own warehouse to try to start stuff as well.
Super cool. That's very impressive what you've been able to do in such a short period of time so far, and it sounds like everything's only going to continue to move in the right direction. So that's very cool.
Yeah, no, I mean it's been pretty good. I mean, I haven't. I mean, there's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of hair pulling moments that I mean, but that's expected. I mean, you just got to push through and just see the brighter side at the end of the day.
No worries. Yeah, of course. Well, hey, that's everything I have for you today. That was very cool to hear about your story and what you've done. Very impressive. Good luck with everything.
Yeah, same to you. Have a good day.